Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to give you guys a quick update on how my year has been going professionally and share some exciting news that if you've already seen the title and thumbnail of this video, you're probably already aware of. This year I had the opportunity to shoot a number of really exciting commercial projects as a DP. I shot this commercial with Marissa Tomei, I shot this commercial with the MLB, and I shot this commercial with Jordan Brand and some marionette puppets. But if we rewind the clocks to about this time last year, early November, I just finished up shooting the Cat's Delicatessen commercial with New York Nico. For those of you that haven't seen the spot, it's a 60-second commercial for Cat's Delicatessen that announces that Cat's Delicatessen now ships nationwide. It follows Dave and his twin brother Dan as they discover the fact that they no longer need to keep up their ruse of shipping deli meats back and forth to one another via manila envelope. We had a very skeleton crew of about 6 people for this project, and I even pulled my own focus. The point being, we creatively worked within our limitations and used the bare minimum amount of equipment possible in order to get the job done. Now, my goal for this project was to shoot the project with as much of the gear that I already owned as possible. Because the budget was as small as it gets, I wanted to take advantage of equipment that I already owned to keep costs down, which was, I owned at the time only a Sony FX3 and a 24 to 70 millimeter G Master zoom. Now, part of this approach was strictly out of necessity, but part of the approach was also kind of out of curiosity. Like, can I make a world-class ad that looks phenomenal with only the equipment that fits inside of the closet of my tiny New York apartment? Do I really need the craziest gear that money can rent in order to make something that looks really good, or can I do it with the FX3 that I already have? They didn't even close the restaurant down for us to shoot there, which meant that we were working around the cooks behind the counter constantly, and that the patrons of the restaurant ended up becoming our background actors. We also only had from roughly about 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. to shoot, because trying to get anything done during the lunch crunch in Cat's Delicatessen would have been insane. So we would need to have as small of a footprint as possible, and we needed to be as flexible as possible. So that actually meant that the FX3 was probably the best camera we could have chosen to shoot this project. That's because the FX3 is small and flexible and doesn't take up a lot of space. And when you're shooting behind a deli counter at Cat's Delicatessen, when they're open, space behind the counter becomes a serious premium. Because the restaurant was open, we had to have a creative approach to lighting. All I wanted to do was work off the lighting in the space and use that as our ambient and as the motivation for the various lights that we would use when shooting the commercial. We used the Zhiyun Mullis G300, we used the Amaran 100X, both of which were lights that were shoved into my basement storage unit most of the time, as well as the Amaran F21C and the Amaran 300C. Basically, whenever we wanted to use a light, we just dropped a stand and hoped that it wouldn't cause a massive disruption to the traffic flow of the restaurant, and somehow it worked perfectly. So despite having limited resources and working in an open restaurant on this shoot, this project ended up being successful because of 2 key factors, and those are writing and execution. As the age-old saying goes, you can have all the best equipment and crew imaginable, but if the writing and the acting in your project isn't compelling, then nobody's really gonna care. What you put in front of the camera is also just as important as anything else. The more interesting that your location and talent are, the less work you're gonna need to do to make it look good. And on this shoot, we were blessed to have an extremely interesting location and amazing talent. I mean, Dave was so interesting to look at and so good on camera, it would have been nearly impossible to make something that wasn't interesting with him. And because of the depth and interest available in Katz's, it was super easy to make really interesting frames, kind of leaning into what the location was already giving us. And who doesn't love looking at footage of a Katz's sandwich being made? I'm literally getting hungry just editing this video. The success of a project isn't about how technically perfect it is, but it's more about the fact that you created something that makes the audience feel the way that you want them to feel, or entertains them, or moves them in some way. And most importantly, it's about putting on a good show. But it takes sometimes working with limited resources and then being successful with those limited resources to drive this conclusion home. And that's what happened for me. At the end of the day, if you made something that's good, nobody cares what camera you shot it on, what ISO you shot it at, what t-stop you shot it at, what light you used. They only care that they had a good time watching it. And that is what I think that we achieved with the Katz commercial.
Katz Delicatessen Twins, New York, Nico.
Thank you guys. And go Knicks.
So it was so cool being recognized for this project because it proves that you can make something pretty amazing with relatively accessible equipment. And of course, this project is also the product of a lot of people's amazing talent and hard work as well. It honestly felt amazing to win an Emmy for this project, and while it's not the reason I worked on the Katz commercial, every once in a while it is definitely nice to be recognized for your efforts. I hope this video is a reminder to everyone that if you have a camera, if you have some friends, access to some lights, and a good script, that you too can make something amazing with what you already have. I also have so much more exciting work and gear and thoughts to share on the channel. I'm sorry I haven't posted in a couple of months, but I've been really busy with jobs, which I'm very thankful for, but you'll be hearing more from me soon. But anyway, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.